there are people out there that could have listened to all of that and said, everything that you're even talking about, both of us are even talking about, is oppressive, Christian nonsense.
Sure.
And like, just ignore everything that you have to say about all of this because everything that you have said so far is an attempt to oppress my sexuality or my identity or anything like that. Or my ability to choose.
Sure.
And so what do you have to say to that?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you're right. I mean, those arguments.
Now it's time for me to be mad at you instead of ask you what you think about anything.
Gotcha. Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. I mean, like, I think.
So your answer is going to be unsatisfactory to me.
No matter what I say. I know. And I think that you're right in the sense of it can come across that way. And especially if we have been in church situations where the lines have been crossed, right? Where they've been, where the parent or, especially the pastors or the youth leaders have been way too super involved, in kind of, the way they've been hands-on approach to the dating relationship of couples in their youth groups or whatever it may be. So yeah, 100%, like that can be there. And so I think if you walk away from, if you've come out of that environment, you're going to basically hear any kind of counsel in regards to dating and go, nope, don't like it.
From any Christian, anyone.
Right. So I get that's there. I also get there's the group of people that were just told like the youth group message was don't have sex, don't have sex, don't have sex, don't have sex. And then they at some point say, forget that, and they have sex and go, well, you know what? They were just wrong. The youth leader was wrong. The parents were wrong. The pastor was wrong. This is not that big of a deal.
Because you get done and you look around like nothing happened.
Right. Like, yep. Didn't get struck with lightning.
What was the point? Why?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I do understand from those perspectives that, if you're coming out of those experiences and those environments, I understand you're just going to probably reject out of hand anything in regards to giving any kind of guidance or counsel for dating. And that's why, I mentioned it before, like the book Boundaries in Dating for me was so good because I do think we have boundaries in all of our relationships. I mean, we should have boundaries in all of our relationships. Right. The boundaries to say yes, the boundary to say no, the boundary to say, I can keep our relationship at a certain point, and that's okay, right? Like we all establish boundaries that are really for our health and the health of the person we're interacting with.
Right.
And so there should be, I think, as well, boundaries in dating. Like we shouldn't throw off all the boundaries, all the guardrails and go, nah, forget it. Just do whatever you want. I think instead it's better to say, no, we need these healthy boundaries like we have healthy boundaries in other relationships to ensure that we're, we such a Christian phrase of guarding our heart, but, the idea of, hey, I want to do this in a healthy manner. Boundaries help with health. That's a big thing, right? Boundaries help with healthy relationships. And so when I have healthy boundaries in dating relationships, it's helping me to be healthy in the way that I'm loving the Lord and the way that I'm loving others, and same thing for the other person. And so I would hope that they wouldn't hear it as me trying to like oppress or like, because like we just brought up examples of what like really oppressive, ministry or oppressive relationships from the pastor to the dating couple can look like. I would rather say, so like we don't want that, but I don't think this is oppressive. I think it's just giving guidance and counsel the way that I would when I'm talking to an individual that's having, relationships within the workplace. Like there's boundaries you set up there for your health and for the other person's health. And so
right.
I think that just boundaries in general are just, again, they're helpful and they're healthy and they're for our good and for the sake of the other as well. And especially in a dating relationship where it can be so intimate, you want to make sure there's those healthy boundaries there. And so I guess what I'm saying is I would hope the person who would say that's just oppressive nonsense, like I just want to do what I want to do. Okay, like if that's where you're at, that's what you're going to do anyway. So just disregard what we got to say. Cool. But I would hope that you would hear my heart as a father, as a pastor, to say, no, I want there to be health. So when when or if the relationship ends, there's not all this collateral damage that's following from it.
Okay.
That our hearts, and I say guarding our hearts, that's kind of what I mean by that, like that our hearts are still intact and whole, not that there's not sadness that the relationship's over, and not there's, or sometimes even anger that the relationship's over. Like one side wanted it to be over, the other one didn't. Like that can happen, but then you're able, because you didn't allow intimacy to get too far. You're not just sexually, but just emotionally and everything else, because it didn't get so far. Your heart's still mostly intact in the sense of, I'm heartbroken that this relationship's over, but I can move on in a healthy manner from here. It's not just devastating my whole world for, months or whatever it may be,